This is William Tincup, and we are at isolved Connect, and we are in Chicago. And the first time I talked to Steve was in Charlotte, and he is a fraud prevention expert and executive. And what he told Ryan and I terrified both of us, mostly because we hadn't put two and two together. I think that's where the conversation, when we first talked in Charlotte, we just, like, credit card fraud. Yep, check, got it. Credit card, fraud in other areas. Yep, got it. I've watched a lot of movies. I've seen that. I just hadn't put payroll in that box.
Well, it's not just payroll. It's any industry where there's financial transactions, right? Insurance, healthcare, auto, right? Anywhere. Rewards, crypto, gambling.
Yeah.
Pick your poison. It's all there.
If there's a transaction that involves one and the other, there's going to be someone that wants to break that transaction.
Yeah. It's the old quote is, why do people rob banks? That's where money is. Well, there's money in payroll and insurance and gambling.
Yeah, there is.
There's money involved. There's going to be fraud involved, unfortunately.
Well, Steve, do us a favor and introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back.
Sure.
So Steve Lenderman with isolved, head of fraud prevention. Been at isolved about 6 months now. And those are pretty nice, fun stuff here at isolved to get us in a really unique posture.
Have you terrified all the other executives?
I'm not sure I was terrified then, but let's just say I have some leverage, to put it nicely. So,
yeah, I think, and actually one of the things you schooled us on is if someone's looking to buy payroll, looking to buy an HRS, a core, the first thing, one of the questions that they should ask is, do they have a fraud prevention expert and team?
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to make sure someone's there to cover you.
Right.
Not when it happens, right? Or if it is going to happen at some point. I mean, just this week, it was today, Tuesday, right? 180 million credentials were just leaked last week. And it's credentials from every source and facet you can think of. And unfortunately, because a lot of us still use the same password for multiple credentials, that number of 180 explodes to 3, 4, 5 times that, right? And so, you want to make sure as you turn your business over to an organization that's going to do your payroll and human capital management, it's not just protecting your money, but it's protecting your intellectual property. It's protecting your personal identifying information of you and your employees in your business.
So where does some of the fraud come in? Is it just bad actors and kind of those types of people, or are we have farms? Like, what is the?
Yeah, you have some traditional, fraudsters, the kid in the hoodie kind of concept, right? Where some bad actors that are traditionally not as organized would do some basic frauds, whether a new account fraud or account takeover. But just like the banking industry has seen, it's now moved into a much more organized position or posture. There are a number of transnational organized crimes. Some of them are not always tied to quote unquote the bad China, North Korea type scenarios, but you're going to have government supported organizations that are going to do things.
Yeah. This is a business.
It is a business. It absolutely is a business for them, right? They are structured just like a business, just like we are. They have org charts and there's processes and policies, and it is no different than a business. Just they don't follow the rules that we have to and laws, right?
Right.
So we're definitely seeing this part of this very complex, organized, transnational starting to rear its ugly head in the payroll space, which I don't think a lot of companies
I can tell you for sure
are prepared for, to be honest.
I can go out on the certainty platform for that. No, they are not aware of the problem, and they're definitely not doing something to fix it.
Yeah.
Which means that it's a hope strategy at that point, right?
Yeah, I laugh when you hit me. We must have talked about this, but I call it, some people's strategy is hopes and prayers. And those
hope's not a strategy.
They only get you so far.
Yeah.
And then there's the other is, luck or skill. And we can be lucky sometimes, but at some point you have to have the controls, and the skills there and education and experience to actually put together a program.
In a weird way, if let's say it's North Korea, we're just playing around. They've built a company to then do this. It has to remind me of how pirates back in the day viewed regular cargo ships.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like there's a regular business coming out of London, exporting, importing, whatever the bit was. And then there was pirates that basically said, yeah, we don't have to do that. We'll just take their stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a modern day piracy. This is actually dealing with money, not necessarily piracy for copying stuff. But yeah, you're looking at how transactions are happening and how can I get some of that?
Yeah, sometimes I'd hate to say tip the hat to the bad guys once in a while, but they figured out that it's easier to steal than it is to work.
Yeah.
And so that's the path they take. You and I have ethics and morals and standards, and we follow these things called laws. So we work every day. For others, that just doesn't exist. And we also have to forget too that our current situation is probably different than some current situations of other countries, right?
Good point.
We've seen a lot of organized scams coming out of, West African countries, for example,
right.
Ghana, Nigeria.
Right.
And you realize, if they're able to pull off a scam and get $2,000 US, that's enough to feed a family for a decade.
Right.
It's life-changing for them to do that. And so while I don't condone it, I understand, unfortunately, why sometimes people get involved in fraud.
100%.
Right? It's not right, but I understand it.
Are you looking at third-party tools like some of the integrations?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big believer. Sometimes you can build some things. Large organizations that I've been part of, banks and other payroll organizations, unless you're really big and have a really depth of knowledge and understand what you're doing, I always recommend going to buy. It's just it's easier to deploy. It works better.
Right.
Most of these third-party providers are using kind of some consortium as well.
Right.
So
some
of the tools that we're going to deploy here and are deploying are coming from the banking industry because of my experience there. And why wouldn't we want to know a particular individual or a business who's already done or been a victim of fraud in the banking space or healthcare space or insurance space?
Yeah. Leverage that knowledge.
Why wouldn't we want to know that when they come to our door? Why we would want to focus on try to build a technology that we just don't have that vision, right? And if honestly, look, if it breaks, then they fix it, right? If it's an outage, then they fix it.
Right.
And it just makes it easier for us to deploy. And as I come and go, or as individuals come and go, or developers come and go, right? I think we've been in organizations where somebody who built something and then they retire, and then you're like, well, what do we do with this now? It's broken. Like, we don't know how to fix it. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. It is a critical part of your posturing is to have the right technology, and not just the right technology, to have it deployed in the right places. That's the biggest problem people do is they just set it and forget it and let it go. And that's not going to solve your problems.
No, not at all. So let's do customer side. Not just the questions that they should ask on the sales side of things, but what should they periodically be checking in on? And then again, I'm going to put you in the security, privacy, fraud area because I can see them being linked in some way.
Yeah.
Right. So how should they, I say audit, but how should they keep in touch with what's going on and make sure that they're doing all the things that they need to do right?
Yeah. So again, one of the benefits of being in the payroll space is we can rely on, again, the financial sector's experience in this space, right?
Yeah.
The playbooks are pretty much written.
Yeah, you got a bunch of shark bites.
Yeah. And so a tactic or a technique that's being used heavily in the banking industry is called perpetual KYC, which is know your customer.
Yeah.
All too often in new account onboardings, everybody goes through a KYC process. Yeah, this is John Doe. That's John Doe's address, John Doe's phone, blah, blah, blah. Right. And they pass. And then they never do it again. And so that's that's pretty common across almost every organization until they have the moment where they realize, oh, I just got defrauded. Then they go back and look hindsight 2020, and then you can see what happened. So
it's almost like monitoring.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perpetual monitoring.
How do we, because in the identity space, which is crazy, is we used to have this, and we still do have this thing called background screens, background checks. But really what's kind of blowing up right now is the question of, are you?
Correct.
And how do I know that?
Yeah.
And that's now dealing with generative AI and deepfakes and all this other kind of crazy stuff. But How do I know? How do I know for sure that you are
using that data? Correct, right? And that's sometimes they call it enhanced due diligence, EDD.
Okay.
But similar concept there is KYC. When I hear other organizations, even in our industry, talk about they have a robust KYC program as fraud prevention, I just kind of laugh at them because every fraud passes a KYC.
That's not it.
That's not fraud prevention. It's a regulatory checking exercise, to be brutally honest. And so we see that problem, right? But this concept of perpetual or continuous monitoring is, potentially have a new account that's been on board for 6 months, doing fine. And then all of a sudden, they under some kind of financial stress. Maybe, they have a competitor who pops up, they have a supply chain issue, maybe tariffs cause them problems, whatever it might be. And now all of a sudden they're in stress and they may do things they wouldn't normally do, right? Maybe it's run a higher payroll than usual. Maybe it's run additional bonuses. And the thought is that they're basically going to play the end game, right? We just cash out and walk away and close the business or move to another payroll company and do the game again.
That doesn't help. That doesn't fix the underlying issue.
No,
the underlying issue is you don't have a great fraud strategy.
Yeah, we weren't monitoring. There's ways that are going to tell you what's going on there if you just look and have the tools to look, right? That's the big issue too.
What's funny is, but this is a credit card or a debit card world, is my wife hates getting the transactions of, was this you?
Yeah.
I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a Bank of America. I love getting the texts like, hey, did you make this purchase? It's like, and you could just, yes. And it's like, cool, no worries. Don't have to respond to anything else. It's like, it's just making sure. It's a little bit outside of what you normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And I would wonder how that would ever play out in payroll.
Well, you ask, because we're actually doing that.
One
of the things we deployed in my first initial 90-day assessment is, again, starting to roll out things that are common in the banking industry that, again, not reinventing the wheel. I'm not that smart. It's just a matter of, okay,
did your bank deposit go correctly?
Yeah. So anytime there's a bank account change for payroll diversion, anytime there's an addition of an employee, these are basic things that when there's any we call critical change in an account, we're going to authenticate them through a step-up process, which typically is two-factor. And in the past, the two-factor has always typically been an email or an SMS. And we are now evolving away from both SMS and email just because it's
facial
no longer,
recognition.
Well, it's no longer viable, right, from that perspective. We are moving heavily towards passkeys or the authenticators.
I love the authenticators, especially for all the streaming services and the social platforms. They've got that stuff that they've got it down because, especially on mobile, they know your location.
Yeah, and it ties to the original comment you made earlier about a password or two-factor is very static, and it doesn't prove that whoever has it actually owns it. It just means they have possession of it.
That's correct.
And so a passkey or a two-factor authentication with tied to your phone or tied to your laptop that's got a PIN or a biometric, now we know that it's you that actually owns the authentication. And that's where that's where banking is already kind of there.
Yep.
It is going to be a little bit of a cultural pull to get folks to that spot.
Yeah.
But they eventually, like we all did, we didn't want chip cards. Now we have chip cards. We didn't like SMS two-factor, 10 years ago, but now we do, right? That it'll change. And it's for their own protection. And honestly, once you set a passkey up, it's faster, it's more secure, and it's more convenient than using passwords and two-factor and things of that nature.
I love that. When people change banks, there's inflection points, right? So if they get a large amount of money or bonus or something like that, I want to verify that, to a certain degree is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all that stuff, but also did you get it? Things like that. But when someone changes banks, they go from Wells Fargo to Bank of America or whatever. How do you verify that was them?
Yeah, so that's always a tricky thing. There are some providers out there that we work with that have the ability to verify bank accounts and credentials. Keeping in mind, there's always privacy involved. We just can't log in and see every transaction you make, et cetera. Essentially, we're validating the account number is legitimate, the routing number is legitimate, the name matches, because it's not just a fraud prevention tool, but honestly, it's also an onboarding tool, right? We want to make sure that have you ever fat fingered your accountant before?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so, wouldn't it be great to make sure you actually get your payroll on the first pay? Not because user error, but because, we validated it for you. So there are tools we can use for that perspective. Nacha also requires some security and fraud controls around
the
ACH transfers. So we obviously comply with Nacha. We're actually part of Nacha's Payment Alliance program.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we're about 47 different organizations. There's ourselves and another payroll company on there.
And then the 17 other payroll companies aren't?
No.
Wow.
No.
Even global payroll?
Some of them are not. You'd be surprised. So for us, it's about having a seat at the table, right?
Yeah, of course.
With the other bankers and understanding how money moves and understanding what pressures they're feeling.
Well, banks want that money to flow too. They want that to be, it's in their interest as well, right?
Yeah,
so we're aligning interests. They don't want fraud.
No.
Everybody's happier here because it's more secure.
Yeah. Well, it's just faster now too, right? I mean, ACH 5 years ago, right? You had to wait 24 hours to get it. Then it went to overnight. Then it went to 12 hours. Now we're down to hourly, and now the limits are going to be in $1 million. And then now we're going to even get crazier, starting to add, real-time payments and things of that nature. Can get really interesting. I'm really happy that crypto never really caught on. There was a startup payroll company who was debating paying in crypto. And that went away. I think they figured out that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
early.
The ease of money movement across transnational borders is insane right now.
Oh my goodness. So, one of the things, Bank of America, you can do the same day. If you've got your personal checking account, business account, so you can do same day transfers. That's easy. If it's $10,000, you got to do two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
So there's
controls in,
there's controls in there. And I like that. Like,
there should be.
If you're a payroll clerk and you're entering in or, just double checking or whatever, you hit an extra zero. Yeah. First of all, the employee, depending on ethics and morals, or where they are financially, they might keep that money. That might have just been a mistake, but to have a control in there, because it's not just getting the money, it's getting it accurately and making sure. But payroll is one of these things in HR. Like you can mess up a lot of HR.
Yeah.
Succession planning, performance, engagement. Like there's a lot of things that you can just not do well. Payroll's not one of them.
Yeah, you mess it up and someone will get paid on Friday and then the mortgagors will get paid and car payments miss and it's a nightmare to back up from a tax liability perspective.
That's right.
It's just not, you want to get it right the first time.
That's correct.
Every time.
And so fraud can play a role in that employee's life. If it happens to them, it happens to the company. So the company's got to sort it and the employee's still got to sort it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Questions that practitioners should ask you other than the fraud prevention team and expertise and things like that. What else should they be thinking about with fraud and payroll?
It's basic cyber hygiene as always, right? Make sure that everything you're doing is where you want to be. So switching to passkeys is my number one recommendation for sure. Passkey.
Right.
Additionally, you really just kind of limit your exposure to yourself that's out there. And that's very difficult to do because everything we do now is digital, but just be mindful of what's going on. I always recommend credit freezes. I mean, it's pretty standard type stuff. It'll prevent any credit inquiries from your bureau. So even if you're not really a victim of fraud,
right,
but your identity is floating out there, why wouldn't you just lock it down? There's no need, when you need to apply for credit, you simply can turn it off in the app, apply for credit, turn it back on. But a credit freeze certainly helps. In the credit perspective, but unfortunately, it doesn't help in like the retail banking perspective, right? Because I can open a debit card account or 10 debit card accounts in your name, and you would never know because it's not showing on your bureau. So passkeys are number one. Looking at a credit freeze is probably another really good thing as well. And honestly, it's just some due diligence. Just if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
Yeah. Use some common sense. There is a very famous cybersecurity quote, and I'll rephrase it a little bit to be a little PC here, but you can't patch human silliness. At the end of every situation is a human who does something they shouldn't do, right? Don't click 100%. On this, they click on it. Don't share the passcode, they share that.
Yeah.
Don't reuse your passwords, they do this. Right?
Yeah. See, it's almost if you reverse psychology with people. It's like, no, you should share your password. You should share your password. I mean, tell everybody.
Yeah. And one thing I've been telling people that's kind of recently is when we have our victims, right, who have their credentials compromised,
right,
the standard response to them is to change your password. And I reiterate to the not just the admins or the clients or the employees, no, I need you to actually change it, not adapt it. Because
right.
when we ask them to change a password, they do what humans do, which is they add a 1 to the end of it or an exclamation point.
Yeah.
And the bad guys know that already too, right?
Yeah,
so when I say
they've already written that
in, yeah. So don't adapt your password. I want you to change it. I want you to physically change the format of your password.
That's so great.
And honestly, I want you to do that and then change to a passkey, right? Because you need a password to set up your passkey.
Right.
But if you get away from passwords, all that goes away. It just makes life so much easier.
Do you have a passkey that you love?
Well, so the passkeys are all established by the FIDO Alliance.
Yeah.
So that's the Amazon. Oh, that's Google, Apple, Google,
Samsung's doing it.
Samsung, the big players in that space, right?
Yeah.
PayPal is another big provider. And PayPal's already moving the passkeys, right?
Oh,
they're eliminating passwords by 2027.
Wow.
That's a standard they're going to put into play.
Oh, I like that.
And I had a conversation with our CTO today, just saying, listen, if we never start the ball rolling, we'll never get there. So let's mandate what we're going to do. Let's pick a date and time. Let's go here, and let's be the first in the industry to do it. And so I think we're going to talk about that next week and I think, move forward.
I think the financial firms, or accounting firms, or financial services firms that y'all have as customers, they're going to be the easiest.
Yeah.
To understand.
Most at risk.
Yeah.
Most at risk for sure. Right.
Exactly.
And they
understand a bit.
They have the structure there. They understand it, right? It's the smaller organizations with 10 employees or less who are using Gmails and Outlooks.
You almost have to do it for them.
You have to hold their hand. I hate to say it. You kind of not only have to take the horse to the water, but you kind of force them to drink, to put it nicely.
Put their head down.
Yeah. My grandfather used to say you used to have to drown them once in a while. I'm not sure we want to do that, but we need to get them into the water for sure and to get them there to that point, because it's always one of those things. Once they become a victim, then it's, I would have done that. But until it happens to them, it's always too inconvenient.
It's very similar to activism. People get active when it touches their lives.
Yeah.
But breast cancer, no one cares until you have it. Until somebody, right. Then it becomes a thing, and then you become active at it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But hopefully fraud, in the way that we're talking about it, hopefully you don't have to go through it to then understand how important it is.
Well, unfortunately, we've all been a victim of fraud in some way, shape, or form. It's not going away. And it's becoming a little more sophisticated now, especially I was
thinking about GenAI.
Yeah. So the industry as a whole, right? I can't go into too many specifics on this one, but I do want to just touch on something we're seeing in the industry right now. They're called farming sites.
Ooh.
And a farming site, as in PH, is used to collect credentials from an individual, right? So again, seeing these in the banking industry for decades. Individual typically is using a search engine to search up isolved or whatever it might be.
Right.
Bad guys they call it SEO poisoning, right? They figure out the algorithm for their search engines and or are paying to have that ad put higher up. They use a spoof domain that looks something like isolved, for example. Maybe has 2 L's, 2 I's, or something in it, right? But it's on mobile, right? Because most people are mobile now.
Yeah.
Going to a credential site where in the past they would just kind of grab the credentials and then resell them. What we're dealing with a particular nation right now who has stood up these farming sites, and they are now not just collecting the credentials, but actually have the ability to pass those credentials on to a true login page, which then log in the customer.
Right.
The customer thinks they've actually logged in, which they kind of have, but they've logged into a bad site.
Wow.
The 2-factor is initiated. The employee receives it, enters the 2-factor code into the farming site.
Now they're in.
Now they have the credentials and the 2-factor. Then they are passed to the true site, and the bad guys log in simultaneously and piggyback in on the door. So we've seen this farming sites everywhere. And we mentioned GenAI. What we've seen is as we take down the domains that are set up, these fake spoofing names, the code is, you can tell, built with a particular LLM,
right?
That we know what country it comes from,
right?
And we have a 3-letter agency working with us in the industry to figure it out.
Yeah.
But as soon as we take the site down, they're up within 3-4 minutes.
It doesn't take that.
No, because they just run in the code again through the LLM. The site's up and running, and we're now stuck again.
It's interesting because, and the last thing is that the Nigerian prince email that we used to make fun of.
Yeah.
that's not there anymore. It is there.
It's
just now they're using a more sophisticated tool to do this.
Grammatically correct. It can be
spacing's accurate.
Yeah, botted. It's pretty interesting how fast they get those out now.
Yeah,
I mean, I actually, for the fun of it, show my experience, to put it nicely. I have a few actual paper letters that I received back in the 90s that the Nigerians, we call it the 419, which is the code that U.S. Postal Inspection Service charges them with. So it's a 419 scam. I have a couple of those letters still just to have it, right? And when I go to certain conferences, I'll bring those out. And people just kind of laugh. I'm like, this is how old I am.
This is not a new thing.
This is a letter.
This is not a new thing.
Yeah. Now we can see it digitally. So,
Steve, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Get on to the next thing. And I just think it's a wonderful thing to talk about. Terrifying and wonderful, because everybody should be talking about this.
We should, because everybody's going to be a victim of it at some sort. And one of the best ways out there is just education and awareness. And so I appreciate your time and spreading the word. That's the most important for us. I never want to talk to victims. I never want to talk to them.
No.
But unfortunately, that's the job.